I have a few minutes, so hopefully they're still streaming this live to the internet while I'm talking to you guys in this few minutes. Anybody want me to do anything? Bit of cabaret? I can tell jokes. I could do Jeopardy. Okay, 1963 Jeopardy. Your answers are Pearl, Pearl, and the Battle of the Nile. What is the question?
Why did Larry just leave?
That is not the answer. And you know, you didn't bid either, so you just failed at Jeopardy in this American show, and I don't know how it works. I only know the simple bits. Anybody else want to try? It was, in fact, Pearl, with the correct question was, what took out Nelson's eye and arm at the Battle of the Nile? He's not here, though. He's not here. It's not in my talk. This is true. I'm going to have to watch my language now because I'm being streamed. My wife said she might watch it at home and let the kids watch. So a 2-year-old will repeat anything I say now. But only the final word. So, you know, if he is watching, love you. I'm going to say you now. What we say is poo, poo, wee, fart.
The transcription service is having a field day.
Belly bum poo. I got like 2 minutes to go, so I'm still going to wait in case anybody's coming.
Responsible for fixing it. You are Mom. You are
Oh, somebody on IRC said I'm live on the internet. Hello, the internet. Fly me to the moon and let me play amongst the stars. It's cabaret time on the internet.
She just laughed. The internet says please stop.
Okay, well, the internet doesn't get a choice. Okay, well, I make it as 11 o'clock, so I'm going to start. Bit intimidated by how far away you'll all hear me and whether this will pick up for the internet. You did fantastically. So, my name's Mark Keating. The talk's all about embracing your community. A good percentage of this talk is based around a talk that Stephen Little gave, which is available on the internet as well. And I liked it so much that I stole a large amount of it, or repurposed it, or shared it. It's an open source talk, so feel free to take anything I say and use it. And what I actually want to do is give you some sort of cogent argument you can give about open source, about why you should embrace a community, especially to those people who don't initially get it. And I'm going to let you know why people don't initially get it as we start. So, open source, you should all be aware of what that is. It's free software, it's software that you share, it's community software, you're allowed to copy, share it. But there's a really important word in that very, very long sentence that I want to talk about, and it's that word, because it's improve. And that's the most important part of that whole speech, is that open source improves. So it improves you, it improves the community, it improves your business, and if you embrace it, you'll improve more. A little bit about Shadowcat. Shadowcat Systems was formed in 2005 by Matt Trout and myself. More pushing from him than from me. We'd already worked together a couple of years before that and worked on various projects, but we decided to, head out and make lots of money in the open source world. So, free and open source from the very start is how we decided to be. And we decided to pursue an open model from the very start and try to get clients who would pursue the same sort of thing as we did. Part of our standard contract actually states that we release the majority of our code back to the community and that the client agrees to that when they sign it. We will work in a closed source area. We will write bespoke software that doesn't get to come out, but the pricing model changes somewhat. Part of what our understanding is we sponsor part of what our work is because we release the modules back. If somebody wants just closed software, then we're going to charge them what other people would charge them for closed software prices. And we like to push community with our service. We like to say, you should be engaging with the community, you should be doing positive things in the community. It's not essential, but we'd like it if you came on board with us with that. And I like to think that we took a hit from the start, and anybody working in open source takes a hit from the start. And the hit you take is medium to large enterprises. They don't look, traditionally haven't looked at open source as a favourable route for them to have. And so all the other consultants who can charge excessive fees are using closed and proprietary software are able to do so and charge excessive fees to these larger companies. Whereas you're stuck with smaller to medium enterprises who are perhaps wanting to be more agile, more flexible, or simply just don't see themselves as having any alternative but to use open source, which is a mindset that some of them have. So there's a closed and a dominance in the marketplace that you have to fight against. Now, that's not true as much anymore, because some of the biggest players on the internet, Apache, to start off with, like we all didn't know that HTML wasn't free. But some of the biggest players now are using open source. You get Amazon uses a lot of Perl, especially since they've acquired LoveFilm and IMDb. They now have a lot more Perl than they thought they would have. And they want Perl programmers. We have Google excessively using Python. Facebook has its own variant of PHP called Facebook wants to do PHP better than PHP was. It has some other acronym, but I can never remember it. So big companies want to use it. I did note that in Facebook in their IPO said, we do use open source, sorry. They were being apologetic about it. This is why I'm very critical of Facebook. Don't be apologetic about it.
That's the only reason?
It's the only reason I'm doing live on the internet. So I was actually dragged into this way of thinking about open source. When we first started out as a company, we first started working, Matt was very patient with me. And he's not a patient chap sometimes. Because I didn't think an open method was better than a closed method. In fact, I was kind of the mindset that if you created something, you jealously guarded it, and you said nobody else can use it unless they pay you for it. And that any other thing to that was just nonsense. It's insane. What are you doing? And I started to growl a little. But that kind of thinking does lead us to these weird times we live in. Weird times where Google buys Motorola just because they want its patents. Better times when a judge throws the court case out last week, so yay to that judge. And he's declared it nonsense because we have people patenting ideas. Somebody patented or tried to patent the idea of swinging on a swing. Because, nobody had that patent. What's next? Blinking when somebody blows into your eyes. Farting loudly after eating too many beans. That's my particular one. It's not yet gone through. The diagrams are really hard to complete. But the best argument Matt had was about Libre. Now, Libre isn't just the idea of being free. It's the idea of being with little or no restriction. And there's your important part. It's restriction. Little or no restriction. Opening barriers. Taking down boundaries. Allowing people to go around. It's communication in an environment that has fewer or no restrictions in it. It's about the exchange of ideas and concepts. It's about collaborative effort. So, how does that give you a business advantage? Well, first of all, it gives you that. And that's a huge thing. The only thing you have to pay for is perhaps the expertise to make the code work. Or a disk if you're actually buying it on a disk, which people rarely do, but you can still buy open source stuff on disks, and they charge you for the shipping. But you don't really want to pay for infrastructure software. You're running a business. You don't want to pay for a database, a programming language, web server, operating system, graphic manipulations tool, office software. I worked for a company that employed 100 people. For each person, when they licensed up a computer, it was about £1,000 for the computer and about £2,500 for the software. So that company alone was paying about £150,000 per year because they went through, not for the hardware, but for the software licenses, were yearly licenses, because they were a business. It's a huge expense. You don't want to pay that just so you can cut and paste a tiny picture to an internet site. It's insane. And the license charges, less problems with intellectual property overheads, which was a problem for Facebook, but not a problem for the rest of us. Virtually patent-free, that to my mind is part of your technical debt, is how much technical debt you've got of paying for things. And so you've got reduced technical debt. It's a free language, free tools, free system for delivery. We have things like SourceForge, GitHub, CPAN, of course, which is lovely. You've got free operating systems that you're running on it. So all of this is zero vendor lock-in. You're free to use the systems as you want to. You can move your stuff between your operating systems. Majority of your free tools will work and compile on different systems. They'll work and compile on proprietary systems. Most open source projects will have stuff that works on proprietary systems. So we've got open formats, open storage and manipulation of data, open storage and free movement of software. You're no longer locked into a particular company or the way that they do things for the version and revision of your software. And it does, as I say, play with the restricted. You can run your free software on Linux, you can run it on Mac, you can run it on Windows if you have the time and the effort to. I say that, but Windows is a bit maligned in this field because ever since ETS was on the new version of OS, running ETS on Mac is painful in the extreme and shouldn't be. I just fire up a VM myself. But we have some companies who like to release to open source in their own way. NVIDIA did release their codecs. HP released a lot of printer driver codecs. They actually clearly want to use the open source community. So you're not closing your software. You're shipping your source code with it. You're shipping everything that's needed to actually expand and change. Open formats for data for storage and transmission. Easy way for you as a company to access any data you've got. It's not locked into a file that can't be unlocked at all, or you have to hack it. It's open. You can actually access the data. It's trivial to access that data. They want you to access the data because they want you to share it with other projects. You don't need to jailbreak your devices. You don't need to crack a codec to get something to work. A few cons. Taking the hit earlier was part of it. I like to think of the leeches. In a terribly way, it's also a Dr. Seuss. It's the sneeches with leeches. Some kind of sneeches don't have leeches, and they're the best on the beaches. Essentially, a leech would build their business up from open source and never contributes back. They on purposely want to lock down, because an open source model actually allows you to lock down your code and not re-release it. And many of the licenses can be certainly corrupted to do that, corrupting the spirit, not the letter of the license. It does lead us into very much a silliness where the license then needs to be changed, and the changing of the license then becomes more restrictive for the communities that want to use the license to stop these people who are doing this. So that's a con. And as I said previously, you're giving it away, and you should be biting people who are trying to take your stuff. Bite them and make them pay. I mean, share freely with everybody because we're all lovely. Support contracts are also a con as much as a positive. Shadowcat offer a support contract, which is anything CPAN. We can probably deal with it. Big companies like Canonical support their stuff. They support Ubuntu, and that's good. But even still, again, you come to the same thing. Corporations go, no, I want to use X name a program from X big company because they give a piece of paper that they've signed to one of their engineers who can come in and fix it. Like a piece of paper is going to stop that guy coming into your building and screwing up your computers. And like the big company is going to freely fix anything they screw up afterwards. Or perhaps freely fix it after they've sold you their own support contract. So support contracts were always seen as being less than. We don't have our certification, and I don't think we should have. A piece of paper never made me smarter. I tried. I tried to put all these little things on to make me a better person, and it didn't. I was very upset. It made me a sort of badly coordinated person, but it didn't really make me very much better. So why have community involvement? Why involve yourself with these people who are the community, these lovely people in front of us who are not diverse enough to swear us told us all off? I feel very told off this morning. Why would you have community involvement? Does it make good business sense to you? Well, I think it actually does. I think it makes great business sense. In fact, I think you're insane if you don't involve yourself with the community. And firstly, there's a big thing. You get to know people. You know who they are directly. You get involved directly with them. You might be involved directly with the people who built the software you built your company on. And that's compelling. You can directly talk to these people. You have access to these people. You have a way of talking to them and saying to them, I think it would be a really great idea if you had X, Y, and Z feature, knowing full well that you want those features. And they may even be persuaded to do that. Or you might even be persuaded to help them out by supporting them, promoting their stuff, giving them money, sponsoring them. You're becoming a link in our community chain. There are many businesses that do this. I mean, the sheer number of sponsors at this event, the sheer amount of money that is given to the community in almost every conference I go to by people like Booking.com. You get advanced knowledge if you're involved in the community. You know what people are talking about. You know what they're planning for the next generation of the software. If you're reliant on it and you want to keep ahead of the game, knowing that can be very useful. Certainly if you've got smaller projects and if you're certainly a small and agile company or have small agile projects that you want to advance very quickly, knowing about the new features is essential. It can keep you very much ahead of the game. We feel at Shadowcat that we're pretty much up on the top of the curve and know where things are going, only because of a lot of involvement in the community. So your involvement, your usage of the language, your involvement in the project leads to a direct influence of new features. We've added modules for clients to projects just simply because that client needed it. We did one recently on sponsored development with a company that they wanted OAuth 2 in Catalyst. Now, nobody was getting around to doing it, but they were actually willing to pay us to do it. So we dropped our rate by a huge way, and they gave half the money. We gave half the money in time. That way, OAuth 2 was added. Everybody benefits who was going to use that in Catalyst, and the client directly gets to make good hay from it. So do we. We can say, look, this works. You can do sponsored development. You can change the future and the way of the project if you need it. You also get a slew of people testing and improving that thing that you wanted. So OAuth 2 now is up on CPAN. People are going to start using it. People are going to find bugs. CPAN testers are going to find stuff for us anyway. It gets improved. So that client doubly benefits. If he was just doing it in-house, he would pay the full amount to the programmer to build it. It would cost him more money. There's a great return in doing this. You make a difference. You make an improvement. You're supporting an ecosystem. You're supporting the members inside that ecosystem. All of that's a great return in itself. And influence comes up again. I'm going to build a little bit more on that. If you're an open source company, if you're moving to an open source model, part of your business plan has to revolve around your software. If you're a massive company, you might have made yourself into that leech I mentioned. You might be easy to identify. I don't think you actually get what advantages smaller companies who are involved in community, or even larger companies involved in the community, will get if they involve themselves. You're releasing an item for free. Somebody else is going to use it. You're going to get bug reports from CPAN testers. You're going to get bug reports from people using it on their system. Somebody's going to hit it with a hammer in a weird way. And they're going to send that data back to you and say, could you please fix this? Because it doesn't work on my system. Or they're going to do something much nicer. They're going to send you a patch for it. And now your thing just works on a system you might not have even worked on before, or be even moving to. That's always a nice and kinky one when you develop a module and you know the client wants to upgrade their underlying OS, and somebody else fixes the problem in the OS for you. That's sweet. You don't have to do any work. You can't charge for it either, but you don't have to do any work. So it is nice. You get updates. Projects that are successful, people that are successful. You get updates to your software. Community gets behind it and involved in it. It expands its usability and usage. You get, essentially, a lot of free development. Not every single module and project is going to ever release this, and not a single one that's on the Acme namespace will ever see this. But some of the other ones will. DBIX class pretty much got that. Catalyst was a lot smaller before people started using it commercially, and it started to get companies wanting features into it. And it's true of every single project on CPAN, I think, that's successful. And there's no downside to this. Where is the bad side of this. Okay, there's a lot of hairy hackers you've never met before who are screaming at you that your thing doesn't have a certain feature. That could be considered a downside, but it's also damn funny. You're not controlling the software directly, but you are influencing it. You're giving up that level of control. I guess Schwern would say you're being a Picard. I'm not quite into that. I'm not bald enough to be a Picard, I hope. I'm not sure which Star Trek character I'd go for, and I don't want you lot to be insulting and tell me. Yeah, okay, so everybody can take Getty out and beat him up later. But let's think about those people, those hairy hackers, for a moment. You're involved in the community, you're a contributor, you're a supporter, you're paying dividends when it comes to recruiting staff. A lot of the time, you're recruiting because you've already heard of them, and they're people you want to work at your company. But you can also recruit them, as I said before, just to fit something specific. Rather than employing a developer for a year, employ the developer who created the damn thing you need for a couple of months. You might pay more money, but you're never going to pay as much as you'll pay somebody to learn everything up, get to the level you require to fix it, and then you're going to let go again because you no longer need them after the year or year and a half you employed them. It's cost effective in that way. It's cost effective to use specialist companies who are very, very good at it. That's not me saying I'll employ Shadowcat, but it wouldn't hurt. But we know plenty of other people. Your involvement in a community is a resume. It's a resume for yourself as an individual, but it's also a resume for you as a company. Developers are a prime resource. Some of them are really, really exceptional, and they can get a job anywhere. They don't need any specific company. They will always find work because they're always very, very good at what they do. So sometimes they actually have to want to work for you. They want to see you as a good place to work, as a good company to work for. And they're willing to actually drop their rates and work for you at a lower rate if they think they're getting a community benefit. And I know this for certain. I have to pay my staff. And knowing them before they come to an interview, absolutely fantastic. Not having to give that nonsense interview test because you already know the quality of their code. You've read it. You've worked with them on it. You've done a project with them on it. It's essential. All Shadowcat developers are known for their open source work. Nearly all the other smaller companies we work with are all contributors to projects. That's how we know them. So how is there a quantifiable return? Well, quite simply, there isn't. Like my other job that my name is made for, marketing, it's a measure that allows you to be known in an environment. It keeps your place. You maintain a state. You enter at a state. Now, you can promote from there, but that's all it does. There's no metric to measure this by. There is no unit of measurement to give you any return to your investment of time and money and effort. You can't measure it, but you can see the benefits of it. The biggest benefit I have from this is that I know people. And they know me. There is no amount of advertising that will work for any company that will outweigh the value of people in a community speaking very highly about you. Thank you. There are 3 limited edition T-shirts with this logo on. Only 3. I'll win a competition. The competition is, think up a competition. Oh, no, they're worth more than that.
That's a Lego Utah.
Yep. I have these figures with me. Thank you very much. That's me, 20 minutes exactly.